And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me as always is my good brother here in the temple, the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadari Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
Zadari Enterprises would like to remind you that Halloween is over, so you can all take off your ugly faces now. Oh wait, those are attached? Sorry, nothing I can do about that.
Also, anybody bringing up any sort of Christmas music right now will be suplexed. It is too damn early for that. Yes, even you people in the Philippines, it is still too damn early.
They started before Halloween, Monk.
Oh, I know. I know that I could not do that because after about a week I'd go insane.
Yep.
Well, I could barely handle a month's worth of the stuff. And they're doing it for like 4 months. But last time around, we delved into some of the setting and some of the build-up for the Robotic Age. There wasn't a whole lot to dissect, aside from some weird bits here and there, just with our science backgrounds.
Indeed.
But now we're getting into character creation, and I will note something I mentioned before. This is a point-based affair. That has its own caveats, but we're going to see how those caveats are handled here.
Indeed.
So with character creation, the quick rule is each player starts with 200 character points to spend freely, 40 to spend on a language general skill, and a bonus depending on the character's designation. Step 1 is you pick a designation. If you pick Android, you get one free upgrade that costs 30 CP or less. You were built, not born. You look like a human, if only a bit more angular with metallic joints. You have a programmed purpose, but come to understand yourself just like any other sentient being. You think for yourself, have desires all your own, and can even have your heart broken. So, Cyborg. Plus 20 CP to be spent on abilities. You become something stronger, faster, and better than a human. With most of your body now replaced with robotic parts, you are exactly what you always wanted to be. It was expensive, but so worth every penny. Insert joke about solos or Street Sam here. No, not every cyborg in Shadowrun is a Street Samurai. Just most of them.
Heh.
Then we have Transhuman. 30 plus 30 CP to be spent on general skills, must have secret past as a quirk. You were human once, but not anymore. You cast off the meat in favor of steel and plastic, but also lost some of your memories and ties to your old life in the process. A small price to pay for immortality.
It's the Cult Mechanicus.
Yeah. But given the source materials we're working with here, I'd say both Kusanagi and Raiden would count for this.
Yeah.
Kusanagi definitely. Raiden still has some organic bits. It's just very minimal.
Raiden is still technically a cyborg.
Mm-hmm. I think the only organic parts of him left are his head and his spine.
Parts of his head and spine.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, his jaw is his lower jaw is synthetic because it gets swapped out so often.
Yep.
It's basically just his brain.
Mm-hmm. See, then human, plus 80 CP to spend freely, starting structure capacity of 0, starting core capacity of 50, cannot buy anything that reduces core. In the age of the artificial man, you're still human. You might have a cybernetic implant here or there, but nothing extreme. You're either proud of your ability to stay human or are still saving up the money for your core installation surgery. See, and then we have physical specs. Androids, cyborgs, and transhumans have 100 structure capacity and 100 core capacity. Humans have 0 structure capacity and 50 core capacity. Body armor costs 5 CP per level. Handheld shields cost 2 CP per level. Core armor costs 10 per level. Abilities cost 1 per level. So then, combat data. All combat skills start at 10 and cost 1 CP per level to increase. Pick one fighting style from the below list and write down its effects. So these styles are Behemoth, Berserker, Deceiver, Defender, Heavy Hitter, Marksman, No Style, and Speedster. Then general skills, which cost 1 CP for 2 levels. Then we have a nice little chart of the available general skills. Then buying upgrades. Upgrades are divided into general, body, and weapon upgrades. They cost a set amount of CP and sometimes lower core capacity. Humans cannot take any upgrades that lower core capacity. And
So they don't have any.
Then gaining quirks. They give you a set amount of CP depending on their severity. You can have a total of 30 CP worth of quirks, so keep that in mind for all you min-maxers. Then buying weapons. First, the 3 things to keep in mind, or actually 5 things to keep in mind, are type, either physical or energy, i.e. bullets or lasers. Both types are free, but will determine what elements you can add. Range costs 1 CP per 1 yard. Weapons that use the range skill must have a range of at least 5 yards. Weapons that use the melee skill can have ranges between 0 and 1 yard. Weapons that use the unarmed skill can only have a range of 0 yards. And power level, the strength of the weapon, which must be bought in succession, 1, then 2, then 3, etc. Level 1 costs 10 CP, level 2 costs 20, level 3 costs 30, level 4 costs 50, and level 5 costs 100. Then element. Only 1 per weapon, costs 5 CP, and must match the type of your weapon. And the
This is an interesting chart because some of them are physical, some of them are energy, some of them are both, and they each affect each other in a weird rock paper scissors except 8 things way.
Well, the game did say one of its inspirations was Mega Man, so
yeah,
certainly on brand.
Yeah. Well, like here's one that gets me. How does explosives trump magnetics? And for that matter, how does sonics trump explosives?
Definitely a weird one.
Well, like if this were Mega Man games, I'd go after the fire guy first or the ice guy first, because those are usually the easiest bosses and they're going to be the most useful, usually.
Or if you're playing Mega Man 2, go after Metal Man.
Yeah. In this case, though, you'd start, like, if this were Mega Man X1, you'd be going after Chill Penguin. Everyone goes after Chill Penguin. Mm-hmm. Not only because it's one of the easier levels, but because the dash upgrade is there.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, with this chart, Ice beats Metal, so then you'd go beat Metal. Metal beats Sonics, so then you go beat Sonics. Sonics beat Explosives. Explosives beat Magnetics. Magnetics beats Electricity. Electricity beats Fluid. Fluid beats Fire, and you've gone around the full circle.
Mm-hmm. But then you have enhancements. Add functions to your weapon and cost a set amount of CP, but may be increased in level. And drawbacks, which is self-explanatory. I do wonder if there's a similar cap. There's a similar cap when it comes to drawbacks.
It doesn't say.
But after that is system registry, which is basically the final touches. Your corruption value starts at 0. Character points earned keeps track of the CP you earn after character creation.
Yep.
And then right after that we have the details on each. I feel like that this quick reference should have been in the back instead of the front of the chapter.
Maybe.
You look at, say, a lot of the White Wolf games, and they would have a quick reference at the back end of the character creation chapter.
Yeah.
Whereas
because the front here, most of what's here is pretty much fluff about what each designation is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. fluff about what makes an android, fluff about what makes a cyborg, fluff about what makes a transhuman.
Although I do like that each has their own sample character.
Yes, a sample character sheet like this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. The way CP is getting used, I do end up getting I especially end up getting reminded of Shadowrun. Now, is this as swim damage as Shadowrun? Not really.
Well, and because of the quick reference sheet, we're not seeing how this all splits up in minutiae. When we get into the nuts and bolts of this, it'll probably be much less swim damage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get a combat data fighting style that's going to inform some of your combat skills. You're not going to just be picking and choosing and swimming, damn it.
You also don't have nearly as many skills in general.
Yes, you have 18 general skills and 8 combat styles.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, 21 general, no, 20 general skills, excuse me.
That's certainly a lot of skills, but compared to Shadowrun, especially throughout like 3rd and 4th edition, that's still not nearly as bad.
Yeah, but I also like the character art for each one of them. They definitely show a different personality to each designation.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear that the character art is the sample character as well.
Yeah. The fact that the levels for it seem to be around sets of 5 and 10 make me think of my times with Rollmaster and subsequently Anima, but I don't think we're going to be dealing with something at that level.
Probably not.
Let's see. And the transhuman one also has the sheet for its support unit. And in the process also shows that there's a possibility of exosuits.
Yep. Which
And,
means we may even have mecha.
mm-hmm. And then we have the human designation. Though there is a sidebar that I do think is worth reading.
About the humans?
Yeah. Humans are, by design, much weaker than other designations. An attack that would severely injure an android could outright kill a human. Also, without a core, humans are very limited in their upgrades. This doesn't make them worthless, far from it. But playing one does require more strategy and patience than the other designation. Humans are recommended for experienced players only. I'm glad that that's outright stated.
Yeah. Yep.
There are some archetypes in various games that are clearly meant for people who have a little bit more experience, but are not outright said.
Yep. So the reason a human has no structure is because they don't have any artificial or heavily artificialized parts to them. Like the description said, you may have some small cybernetic enhancements, but nothing huge like what a cyborg would have.
I'd say given the inspirations, I'd say a couple good analogs would be, say, Togusa and Saito in Ghost in the Shell.
Okay. Yeah.
Togusa had the bare minimum when it came to cybernetics, and I think Saito, his cybernetics were mostly his eye and his arm, and even then, nowhere near as extensive as some of the other people within Section 9. That gun's a little weird, though. I mean, I feel like it's trying to be a future version of an Uzi.
Which gun?
On page 37 in the PDF.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it has a foregrip, and it does have a stock. It's definitely trying to be a submachine gun of some sort.
Yeah. And the first submachine gun that came to mind looking at that design is a Uzi.
No, not really. It doesn't sit far enough back behind the hand to be an Uzi. If I'm being honest, it just reminds me of someone turning a normal pistol into a machine pistol.
Yeah. Though at least he's got extra clips.
You mean magazines?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But then...
my guntism. Also, his name, Monk? Keiji Hikari?
Mm-hmm. And even in his case, he has limited cybernetics, this time in his legs and his brain, if only so he can access cyberspace. But then we get to physical specs, and I'll hand it over to you for this.
Oh, okay. Structure represents the amount of damage an artificial thing can take before it's broken beyond repair. As something or someone loses structure, cracks appear and pieces start falling off. Structure can be damaged by, damage, there should be a D there, at the end. Structure can be damaged by any normal attack. Androids, cyborgs, and transhumans start with 100 structure capacity due to their artificial bodies. They are resilient to damage and almost impossible to destroy without sustained damage or military-grade ordnance. When structure damage reaches its capacity, the artificial body shuts down. Servos shatter, hydraulics fluid spills like blood, and the body crumples onto the ground. Any damage taken from this point goes straight to core, no matter what causes it. Humans do not have structure. They are squishy and tend to die when shot a few times. All damage done to a human automatically goes to core. However, they are also not considered out for having zero structure and cannot have their structure capacity reduced below zero by fighting styles or other effects. Then we have core. Core represents the energy source that keeps the artificial body running. The core is what runs the artificial brain, sends signals around the body, and even powers some impressive upgrades. Cores are damaged by EMP weapons, certain elements, or called shots to the core. Androids, cyborgs, and transhumans start with 100 core capacity due to the energy source installed in the chest. When core capacity is reduced to zero, memory systems crash and become irretrievable. Personality, memory, essentially the very soul is lost when the core is destroyed. The body locks in place, usually still standing if its structure is intact. A core death is permanent death to those otherwise immortal and is considered a capital crime on par with murder. Human core value represents their complex system of organs keeping them alive. Humans have a core capacity of 50, as they are generally easier to damage than cores built out of metal and plastic. A human whose core is reduced to zero is dead, and usually a very bloody scene to behold. Humans cannot take upgrades that reduce their core, as their body cannot handle the stress. Understandable. Then we move on to armor. Armor is worn or built-in protection that stops damage you may take. Armor can be bought for your structure or core and may even take the form of a handheld shield. We have structural armor. This armor covers your body and protects your structure from damage. Each level of structure armor costs 5 points, unless you ignore 1 point of structure damage from any attack, so it's soak. A maximum of 100 points, 20 structure armor, can be spent on structure armor. So there's your maximum. You can spend up to 100 character points to get up to 20 structure armor.
Yeah. We also have a nice little chart that showcases, and unfortunately you can't see it because of my model, but there's a nice little chart that goes into the impact that certain amount of CP has when it comes to structure armor. Like 50 gets structure armor 10, so ignores 10 structure damage, i.e. any power level 1 weapon. Whereas 100 gets SA20 and ignores 20 structure damage, i.e. any power level 2 or weaker weapon.
And with that, Monk, I will leave you to core armor and beyond.
So you gotta head out for a minute.
Yeah.
All right. I can take it from here.
All right. So, I'll be back.
Core armor. This armor only powers your core, protecting it from attacks that will damage it. Each level of core armor costs 10 CP and lets you ignore 1 point of core damage. A maximum of 200 points, or CA20, can be spent on core armor. 10 by CA1 ignores 1 core damage. 50 by CA5 and ignores 5 core damage. 100 buys CA10 and ignores 10 core damage. Then we have the handheld shield. Shields are armor held in your hand, obviously. In combat, as an instant action, you can declare who you're aiming your shield at. Any attacks made from your target hit the shield, if they aren't otherwise dodged or deflected. And damage is reduced by the shield before it hits the wielder's body. Called shots and attacks made by someone the shield isn't aimed at bypass the shield and hit the wielder's body. Each level of shield costs 2 CP and lets you ignore 1 point of structure damage from any attack that hits it. Maximum of 40 points, shield 20, can be spent on a single handheld shield, but multiple shields can be purchased. You can only gain the benefit of 1 shield per target, no matter how many you own. So 10 CP gets you shield 5 and ignores 5 damage from attacks. 40 CP gets you shield 20 and ignores 20 damage from attacks that hit you. So you could say that that you have essentially layered health. Shield, structure, core. Unless you're a human, in which case it's just going to be shield and core, and you're probably going to be spending a good amount on shield so that you ignore damage when you get hit. Though I'm curious about the whole buying multiple shields. Is it a case where where each one has an individual target or something? But we also have the catastrophic damage threshold. Catastrophic damage scrambles optics, breaks weapons, and knocks systems offline. The effects of catastrophic damage will be discussed in more detail later, but your threshold represents how much damage you can. There's a bit of a typo since it says you can in a single hit before you suffer catastrophic damage. Your CD threshold starts at 20 and can only be increased with abilities. Now, speaking of which, then we have abilities. These are ways your character is stronger, faster, or tougher than the average human or android. To represent your basic ability to run, jump, and lift, we use the baseline. All androids are built to the same industry standards, known as the baseline. This means, before abilities, they all move at the same speed, lift the same amount, and have the same optics. Cyborgs are also increased to this baseline, improving the body to be on par with your average off-the-rack android. The following baseline applies to all androids, cyborgs, and transhumans. Speed, you move up to 20 yards during a general action. Jumping, jump up to 4 yards horizontally and up to 2 yards vertically. Lifting, lifts up to 200 pounds. Agility, as agile as a moderately athletic human, almost never trips and can balance his weight on a single leg with ease. Perception, has 20/20 vision and the same level of hearing and smell as your average human. Standard human baseline shares baseline agility and perception with its artificial counterparts, but differ in the following ways. Speed is up to 10 yards during a general action. Jumping is 2 yards horizontally and 1 yard vertically. Lifting is up to 150 pounds. To increase your character's baseline, you need to buy abilities. Abilities are bought at 1 CP per level, and each ability can have a maximum value of 66. Interesting choice of number there. Abilities are rolled like skills to determine success for jumping, lifting, or noticing things, and also give you passive bonus depending on their level. Then we have the abilities list. So increased agility, move with greater ease. This value is also added into initiative rolls, and half of it added to your deflect combat skill. Increased durability, increases core defense threshold beyond the baseline of 1 for every 5 level. Increased jumping, increases horizontal jump by 1 yard over the baseline for every 5 levels, and vertical jump by 1 over the baseline for every 10. Increased perception, used to notice things others would have missed with baseline perception. This could represent having electromagnetic sensors or just telescoping eyes. Increased speed, become faster than the baseline by 1 yard per level. The value is also added into initiative rolls, and half of it added to the dodge combat skill. Increased strength, increases lifting capacity by 10 pounds per level over the baseline and gives +1 damage per 10 points to all melee and unarmed attacks. And slow fall, deploy fins or parachutes to help slow a fall. Roll once every 5 yards fallen, and for each successful roll, reduce total falling damage by 1 power level. Then wall jump allows you to dig your feet into a wall or other vertical surface and jump again. For every 10 levels, you gain 1 additional jump, and can be continued as long as you have additional jumps and surfaces to jump from. Then wall run allows you to move at half your speed any direction along a vertical surface. At the end of your turn, you must be on stable footing or gravity takes over again. So it is interesting that abilities are treated a bit more literal than in other games. But we'll see. As far as why the cap is at 66, we'll see later. I'm certain of that. But then we have combat data. There are 6 combat skills: melee, ranged, unarmed, dodge, deflect, and combat analysis. Combat skills start at 10 and are bought at 1 CP per level, with each skill having a maximum value of 66. So, melee is your ability to hit a target with melee weaponry like energy swords, vibro axes, or combat knives. Ranged is your ability to hit a target with ranged weaponry like machine guns, plasma cannons, or explosive-tipped crossbows. And what? You back?
Yes, I have returned.
Yeah, I covered abilities, and then I started covering combat data. I'll hand it off to you.
All right. Well, sounds like you were just at the end of ranged, so we're unarmed, where it's your ability to hit shit. You know, and grab shit and throw shit. Brass knuckles, rocket fists, hand claws, all of that.
I do like that.
Dodges.
Go ahead. I do like that unarmed is still counting weapons that are inextensive of your natural arms, as opposed to some that are very strict about unarmed, meaning no weapons, so even something like brass knucks is still counted as melee.
Which is kind of dumb, because when you're using brass knucks, you're just punching as per normal. Now, if it were something like the Bagnak, I could see them arguing, because the Bagnak is a curved claw weapon on the palm of your hand, but that's different. But you've got dodge, which is what it says on the tin. You've got deflect, which is, well, kind of what it says on the tin. Knock away attacks from your body using melee or unarmed weapons, or just a shield or piece of armor. And then combat analysis. Your ability to size up an opponent with a keen eye or the proper software. When you successfully make a combat analysis roll, pick a category, such as system registry, combat data, etc., on your character sheet. You then learn everything your opponent has in the same category. That's pretty cool, actually. Having a high enough combat analysis to pick a category on your sheet and go, I want to know all about this guy's things right here. GM then goes, okay.
I like that that's separate from perception.
Yes. Then there's a small section here about professionals. Character creation assumes your characters are new to their jobs and weapons. They may know how to use them, but they certainly aren't experts. That isn't the only way to play the robotic age, though. If the entire group wants to play soldiers, assassins, or other professionals, the GM can increase the starting level of combat skills to 40 instead of 10. But with that, we also get to start up on the fighting styles. We saw there are 8 fighting styles in the quick reference. And here it says, each fighting style provides 2 active effects. At the start of combat, everyone picks 1 effect from their fighting style and cannot change it until combat is over. Oh, it's a stance, sort of. So we start with Behemoth. You're not the fastest fighter on the block, but you are the biggest, and bigger is better. The last man standing is the winner, and you won't be the last. You won't be the one to fall over first. God, that is phrased so weirdly. That should be, and you won't be the first to fall. So Effect A gives you plus 25 to structure or core capacity, but you always have the lowest initiative. And Effect B is you have plus 25 to structure or core capacity, but opponents gain 10 to any dodge or deflect to your attacks, since your attacks are easily telegraphed. And then we've got the Berserker. You've learned one thing from combat. Keep hitting someone, and they will go down. This leaves your attacks a bit unreliable, but that's why you have so many of them.
Accuracy by volume.
Yeah. First effect, you may take a second combat action each round, but weapon power levels are reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1 for that turn. And then effect B, each time you take damage from an enemy attack, you may make a single counterattack with any weapon. However, that weapon's power level is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1 for the counterattack. So either double action with reduced power, or counterattack with reduced power. That's still pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Deceiver. You know, being in the right place at the right time can make all this difference, and shooting first can save lives. You can't take a hit like the others, but if things go well, you won't have to. You know, Deceiver seems almost purpose-built for humans, looking at the effects. Always considered to have the highest initiative, but have minus 25 structure capacity than normal. For a human, that doesn't matter. Once per round, gain a second general action any time in the initiative order, as long as it does not interrupt another character's action, even your own. Character has minus 25 structure capacity than normal. You know, effect A and B seem a little spicy, a little nice. I could see almost anyone using Deceiver, but it almost seems like humans would actually have an innate advantage there.
Yes.
Since they start with 0 structure and their structure cannot be reduced under 0.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Defender. You aren't here to knock enemies down, you're here to keep your allies up. The best offense is a good defense, as they say. Hold on. I am fortifying this position. Thank you, Rogaldorn. The first effect, once per round, if an ally within your movement speed is the target of an attack, you may step in front of it. It's good old cover.
Yep. Resolve
the attack as if you were always the intended target. You may attempt to deflect, but cannot dodge. Of course you can't dodge, because then the person you're trying to defend gets hit because you dodged out of the way. Mm-hmm. Effect B. If you have a weapon with the force field enhancement, you may reduce the power level of the weapon by 1 and extend its effects to an ally within 10 feet, so you are both protected. You may extend the force fields to as many allies that are within range, reducing the power level for each one. Then we have a sidebar here about the Stalwart Defender. Stalwart Defender stands side by side with his allies and charges his weapon with force field enhancement. Normally, this would give him an energy field of power level of 3, but because his defender style, he may extend the field to an ally, giving them both a shield of power level 2, or to 2 allies, giving them each a shield of level 1. I see. It's showing how effect B works. Then we have the Heavy Hitter. There is no such thing as overkill to you. There's no kill like overkill. Sure, your aggressive nature might make you a bit more vulnerable, but the results don't lie. Effect A, your weapons do plus 1d5. 1d5? Ew. I know that's just 1d10 divided by 2, but still, ew. Your weapons do 1d5 plus 1d5 damage, but you take plus 1d5 damage from all attacks. It is a typical Berserker mode there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Effect B, you may use Charge, Overcharge, and Omnicharge as a general action, but your dodge and deflect are reduced by minus 15. Have we covered Charge, Overcharge, or Omnicharge yet?
No.
Okay, so those are later.
So put a pin in that.
Yeah, put a pin in that. Probably some sort of upgrade or skill. Marksman. You know the importance of hitting your mark. You don't miss. Period. Rolls a nat 1. Okay, maybe you miss sometimes. First effect, Effect A. Once per round, you may re-roll an attack that missed. I can see that one being exceptionally useful.
You missed. Made you look.
No, I didn't. Yep. I hit exactly what I intended to hit, the distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Effect B. Once per battle, you can reduce a target's dodge and deflect by 10 for 1 round. So that one's a crippling shot that sets up for your party to go in and fucking hammer things. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Then, no style. You're no warrior. While others were learning to fight, you were studying other topics. You quickly learned to keep your head down. Effect A. You gain plus 10 to any non-combat skills. However, your initiative is reduced by minus 10. Effect B. You gain a plus 15 to dodge, but get minus 10 to melee ranged and unarmed. This is the Joestar School secret technique, monk. Run away! And then the final the final fighting style, Speedster. You're so fast you become almost untouchable. You might not hit the hardest, but you can be in the right place at the right time. First effect, once per round, you may reroll 1 dodge or deflect. Second effect, you may make 2 general actions each turn. However, all combat skills take a minus 10 penalty for that turn. Interesting.
Yep. And just the fact that these fighting styles are here already disqualifies it from the skill problem we saw in Shadowrun.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially it shows there's a choice there. They said you have to choose one of these at the beginning of combat, and they can't be changed until the beginning of your next combat, essentially. You know.
Oh yeah.
And so that gives you get this package of 2 things that you think will be really useful for whatever character you're building.
And that the other reason I say that is when it comes to the combat skills, it's a small handful, as opposed to certain games that decided to have a combat skill for every single weapon category, and then subcategories for individual weapons. And none of them had some sort of cross development, so somebody could be really good with rifles, but be a complete noob when it comes to pistols.
Which, if you specialize in shooting a rifle, you will be better at the rifle. But to say that the skills do not cross-pollinate is to ignore reality.
Mm-hmm. That's always been something I've made fun of, like certain systems where somebody could be really good at swinging a sword but can't swing an axe to save their life. I mean, the axemanship is certainly going to be a little awkward because of weight distribution, but it's not like they're going to be a complete scrub.
True.
Now,
that leads us to general skills.
Yep. Either learned through a lifetime or sometimes just uploaded directly, general skills are things your character can do that makes them useful outside of combat. General skills are bought for 1 CP for 2 levels and have a maximum value of 66. There's that number again. General skills can be almost anything, from fishing to hacking to mechanical repair. Below is a list of the most common and useful general skills for the Robotic Age RPG. However, do not feel restricted. If there is a general skill you want your character to have, talk to your GM. As long as it fits his game and can't be replicated by one of the general skills below, feel free to include it. See, so we have academics, which is self-explanatory. It's academic knowledge of a subject. Each taken separately, which... Charm, self-explanatory. Cooking, also self-explanatory. Command, invoking fear or obedience from others. I like that it's both. That it's both instead of having them be separate skills.
Mm-hmm.
Electronics, being proficient with the use and repair of electronics like LED lights or cell phones. Dancing, the ability to dance without making a fool of yourself. Demolitions, knowledge about explosives and their correct placement. I can hear the demo man in my head already.
I can hear every dwarven demolitionist saying there's no such thing as correct placement.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Driving, self-explanatory. First aid, being able to heal core damage on a human and structure damage on a cyborg. Make a difficult extended action. Every 3 successes heals 1d10 of core damage from the character. That's far more useful than some games that have the first aid or medical skill just stabilizing. Which, don't get me wrong, stabilizing is going to be useful, but that's still very, very situational.
Well, there's even an example here that says that they succeed 18 times before they stop trying, and thus the human is then healed for 60-10 core.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, then hacking, self-explanatory. We put a pin in hacking because I'm going to be making judgments on that later, once we get to the full mechanics, since I have my relationships when it comes to hacking systems.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, then investigation, scanning the local area for clues.
Come on, gang, let's search for clues! Shut up, Fred.
Language, reading and writing a particular language, each taken separately. The higher the skill, the better you are at understanding the larger or more obscure words in the language.
So a 1 gives you at least conversational fluency.
Yeah. This is one particular case where I think if I were to be running this, I would have taken one little cue from Shadowrun. With Shadowrun, you can spend points in languages, but you always have one language that's regarded as N, meaning that's your native language. So you always have the max potential rating in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least I'm not saying that would work necessarily here, but some sort of baseline for native languages if we're going to be going with that approach. But
yeah.
Then lockpicking, being able to unlock old style doors without keycard readers. The mechanics, knowledge about mechanical devices and how to repair them. Musical instrument, self-explanatory. Piloting, also self-explanatory. Repair, more or less works similar to first aid, but repairing catastrophic and structure damage on androids and transhumans.
I think by catastrophic it means core damage.
Possibly.
Unless by catastrophic it means structure damage that's at 0.
Mm-hmm. To repair a player character, make a difficult extended action. Every 3 successes heals 1d10 of structure damage from the character, or repairs a single catastrophic damage.
Oh no, never mind. I missed the section where you mentioned it. Catastrophic damage threshold is 20.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then singing badly requires no skill. Oh,
so you in the Irish tenor contest every year. Got it.
See, stealth, moving quietly, self-explanatory. Survival, self-explanatory. So, I know it says that this is only a baseline, but I can't think of any more skills that you'd actually need in a skill list. I'm pretty sure some will argue certain skills for certain professions, but I feel like the general rule when it comes to, general skills is this being handled by something else? If not, take that something else.
Mm-hmm.
I am appreciative of the fact that there aren't skill specializations, because those, more often than not, were just a sink. A very situational sink.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have upgrades, and I'll let you take that.
All right. Mm-hmm. Upgrades are improvements attached to your body in one way or the other that add new features, instead of just improving what you can already do. Unlike skills or abilities, each upgrade has a set cost. For upgrades with multiple levels, each level must be bought in order. Fairly self-explanatory there. Some upgrades are so powerful they draw on the energy of your artificial body, representing by a loss of core capacity. Core draining upgrades can be shut down or turned on with a general action during your turn, and the lost core health returns immediately when they're shut down. This can be crucial to saving your life in a fight that's not going your way. I read that correctly, but it's incorrect. It said that not's going your way. I said that's not.
Yeah.
Humans cannot take any core draining upgrades because their bodies cannot withstand the shock of them.
Mm-hmm.
That was already discussed. So, I'm not sure if we want to actually go through all of these. There's a lot of them.
No, I will note that it does bug my OCD side that these are not listed alphabetically.
Looks like they're listed in order of usage.
And it's still all over the place.
Well, because the Dash series is all grouped together, cyberspace stuff is grouped together, and then movement stuff seems to be grouped together after that.
I guess.
But some of the chain required stuff, you have dash, which doubles your movement speed for an action, and you have to wait one turn before dashing again, and that costs 15 points, and can be upgraded into reflex dash and jump dash. Reflex dash costs 10 points, jump dash costs 15 points. Reflex dash allows you to double your initiative, and jump dash allows you to, dash to gain airtime. Mm-hmm. And the horizontal jump becomes equal to their dash speed.
Right after that is wireless brain, and then digital telepathy. So I think you can see what I mean when I say the way things are ordered kind of bugs me.
Yeah, but wireless brain, digital telepathy, personalized avatar, and registry blocker are all cyberspace related.
Mm-hmm.
Registry blocker actually seems kind of useful. Blocks combat analysis, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have certain things you can see around here that are core drain, such as limited flight, energy scanner,
emergency
countermeasures.
Yeah, emergency first aid patch.
Yep. Extra arm, literally having an extra arm. Cloaking or transformation. Weapon upgrades.
Also,
which drain.
Also, body upgrades.
Yep. And then some things that seem useful: buying an additional fighting style, and also buying the ability to switch fighting styles, or fighting style effects. Change up. You may switch fighting style effects as a general action, or switch fighting styles if you have a second one as a combat action.
So if you really want to do the stance dancing.
Yeah.
But then we have quirks. Nobody's perfect, except Kurt Hennig. Everyone has something they may not like about themselves, or others may not like about them. You may have to be the center of attention, or just refuse to shoot an unarmed foe. In any case, these quirks define who you are and what other people think of you. When you take a quirk, you make your character a little worse and are rewarded with bonus CP. You can take a max of 30 CP worth of quirks. A quirk is worth more CP when it would come up more often or are more difficult to overcome. Players and GMs alike are encouraged to use quirks to enhance the game and have fun. Below is a small list of example quirks. Talk with your GM if you have a quirk in mind that's not listed. If he approves it, he can grant you either 10 CP or 20 CP. So let's see, we have Poor Eyesight, 10. Trigger Happy, 20. Code of Honor, 20. Secret Past, 0, 10, or 20. Unless you're a transhuman, in which case you have this and you don't get CP from it.
That's why it lists the 0.
No Optics. Attention Hog. Compelled, which is either 10 or 20. For 10, you can attempt to resist. For 20, it's impossible to resist. Humorless. Self-explanatory. Absent-minded. Huh? What? I wasn't paying attention.
Sorry, what was that?
Also, Leakage. You may want to stay away from water and sand as it tends to get everywhere. Damn it. Oh.
I hate sand, Monk.
Humanist.
I'm not going to continue that.
You don't hate androids and transhumans, but they aren't exactly the first things you would ask for help. Oh. Stubborn. Self-explanatory. And phobia. You have a fear of something most people don't, from spiders to heights to clowns.
I would argue most people have a fear of spiders.
I'd also say most people don't have a fear of heights. They have a fear of falling from heights, or a fear of the sudden stop.
It's usually the sudden stop.
Mm-hmm. But then we have weapons.
Yep.
And I'll take the opening part of it. It's a dangerous world out there, and it's important to defend yourself. Whether you got your weapon in the military, for your job, for self-defense, or just because it looked cool, your character's choice of weapon tells a lot about them personally. You can carry 4 weapons on you at any time.
That's a lot of weapons.
So as mentioned before, the first thing there is type. It can be physical or energy, and that is free.
Yep. It determines if your sword is made of steel or lasers, and if your gun fires bullets or plasma. Also determines what elements you're allowed to add, as we determined before on the quick reference sheet.
Yep.
We have a range. Maximum distance a weapon can fire and still hit. Each yard costs 1 point. A ranged weapon must have a range of at least 3 yards and cannot be used at shorter distances. Okay, that's bullshit. A ranged weapon, depending on the ranged weapon, you absolutely can use it point blank. I would actually, if I were running this, say that that's bullshit and just give things like rifles a penalty at that close of a range.
Yeah.
Because if I'm using a pistol, I can straight up punch you in the chest with it in my hand and then pull the trigger, and it'll still be just as fucking effective.
You know, it's not like punch guns were a thing that was invented 50 years ago.
More than that, Monk. The OSS had punch guns all the way back in World War II.
Yep.
But, so, a melee weapon may have a range between 0 and 1 yard, because, there's no such thing as a sword big enough to cut a horse, Monk. No such thing. No such thing as a polearm that is 3 yards long. I've never wielded a 9-foot spear, Monk. That's just not a thing.
Are you bringing that up because polearm brain rot?
No, I'm bringing it up because I like using spears in ways that the SCA hates. Fuck you guys!
But then we have power level, which determines the damage done.
It's 1d10 per power level.
Mm-hmm.
And so we already talked about how many points for each level, and you have to buy them cumulatively, which means that if you want to have a level 5 weapon, you have to spend 210 points. Because it's 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 50 plus 100.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to elements. A weapon's element determines if the weapon shoots fire or sonic waves. Elements are often more effective against specific other elements. Fluids put out fires, electricity will move through fluids, and so on. When one element has a distinct advantage over another, it's called a trump. If 2 elements are ever in conflict, the trump is always victorious. A neutral element weapon deals damage through pure blunt force. Can be on any type of weapon, and doesn't have a trump. Neutral element is free, while any other element costs 10 points. A weapon can only have 1 element.
Mm-hmm.
Why blunt force? If it's a sword, it'll do it through slashing force. I don't like this description.
Yeah.
But we already went over them before. I'll go a little bit more. Fire can be physical or energy and trumps ice. Ice can be physical or energy and trumps metal. Metal can be physical only and trumps explosive. I thought Sonic trumped explosive earlier. Okay, hold on. Scrolling up. All the way back to the quick reference.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was right. Sonic does trump explosives.
So that's a typo.
Okay, so either the chart and the quick reference is wrong or this is wrong, and I would go with the chart being wrong rather than this. So, to continue, metal trumps explosives, explosive trumps Sonic, Sonic trumps magnetic, magnetic trumps electric, electric trumps fluid, and fluid trumps fire. Yeah, so it's a typo having to do specifically with explosives and sonic weapons, I think. Let me see here. Because, yeah, it says explosive trumps magnetics, and sonics trumps explosive, when it's supposed to be explosives. Yeah, there's some stuff here. There's some stuff that metal is supposed to trump explosive, explosive is supposed to trump sonics, and then sonics supposed to trump magnetics. So they mixed up explosive, metal, and sonics somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably something they should. Well, if they're even caring about this game anymore, they should probably update.
Mm-hmm. So then we have enhancements, which add functions to weapons, allowing them to attack multiple times, bypass armor, or knock enemies away. Individual enhancements can be turned on and off as a general action before a weapon is fired, in case you don't want to hit an ally with a blast. A few enhancements can be taken multiple times, increasing the effect of the enhancement. A weapon may have as many enhancements as you can afford. So let's see. We've got armor piercing, which is 10 CP. It caps off at 10. Blast, which hits everything within 2 yards of the impact point for half damage dealt, rounded up. Not recommended for melee weapons.
But and that's 2 yards per point of per level, so up to 10 yards total.
Yep. There's a sidebar saying my blast weapon missed. As the rules are written, a blast weapon that misses is dodged or is deflected does not explode. GMs are free to figure out where the blast weapon eventually hit and calculate distance from there to add a touch of realism. Imagine
missing and dodging I can understand. Someone deflects it, I'm going to say it blew up on their arm.
Mm-hmm. The blowback, which is basically inflicting some degree of knockdown. Coding, which is messing around with elements. EMP goes straight to core. The homing reduces dodge.
Goes straight to core with all of the artificial designations. Does no damage to humans.
Mm-hmm. The homing reduces dodge by 5 per level. Ray reduces deflect by 5. Rapid attack. You get 1 additional attack per each one per combat action per level. Cannot be used simultaneously with charge. Then we have a thing about speeding up combat. If the entire group has rapid attack weapons, combat can get slightly bogged down. To speed it up, attackers should roll all attacks first, and the defender should then roll dodge or deflect for each attack that hit. Only then should the attacker roll damage for each attack that got through. See, then force field, which is self-explanatory.
But it requires an upgrade that isn't detailed anywhere.
It requires charge upgrade.
Here we go. Never mind. Found it. It's in the body upgrades we skipped past. With charge, overcharge, and omnicharge, actually. So I'm going to read all those out because those actually are important. Mm-hmm. Charge is a body upgrade that costs 20 core points, or 20 character points, excuse me. A user can increase the power of an attack by expending a bit of time to do so. The player spends a combat action charging their weapon, gaining the following bonuses for the next turn. Increase the power level of the weapon by 1, increase the level of any present weapon enhancements by 1, and those enhancements being, homing, armor piercing, etc. And the target takes an automatic -5 to dodge and deflect to avoid the weapon. And then a weapon cannot hold a charge for more than 3 turns. On turn 3, it must either be fired or it's lost. Then we have Overcharge, costs another 20 CP. It drains maximum core by 10, and it requires charge, obviously. This increases the bonuses given by charge, raising the power level by another +1, the enhancements by another +1, and the penalty by another -5. The weapon cannot be used for 1 turn after it is used, as it cools off. And then we have Omnicharge, which costs 50 core points, has another -10 core drain, and requires charge. So you can either have Omnicharge or Overcharge, or both. This gives the ability to charge up to 4 weapons at a time with a single combat action. The character cannot charge any weapons again for 3 turns as it cools off. Cannot be used with Overcharge. Okay, so it requires charge to use that weapon enhancement specifically, which is Force Field. But continuing from there, Monk, you got Shockwave.
Yep. So this weapon hits everything 3 yards behind the target for half damage dealt to target before armor. Interesting. And then Shred. This weapon cuts deep and is more likely to hit something vital. Targets hit by this weapon reduce their CD threshold by 1 per level for the duration of the attack. I know it would be tempting to think of chainswords in Warhammer 40k, but imagine, but I'm thinking of the chainsaw rocket.
I'm thinking of something in real life. A shotgun with flechette cells.
Yeah, that'd work. Then we have drawbacks. Few weapons are perfect. Many weapons have drawbacks that limit their functions by taking time to power up, being able to hold only a limited amount of ammo, or drawing additional power from the user himself. Drawbacks give you character points, so you can spend on that weapon and that weapon only. So again, I'm curious if there is a cap, or could somebody just spend it on get all of the drawbacks and give themselves a boatload of CP. Let's see. Attached. Choose another weapon you own. This weapon is considered permanently attached to the chosen weapon. So this is where you have your underbarrel setups. Full power. Can only use enhancements when it's been charged. Inaccurate. When using the weapon, you suffer +10 penalty to I'm sorry, not +10, -10 to its corresponding combat skill per level.
Has a maximum of 3 levels.
Startup. This weapon needs time to build power and cannot be used for 1 combat action per level after initiative is rolled.
If you have an ultimate weapon that you want to use something for, you want to potentially use in the middle of a combat, that'd actually be a fun one to use.
Unwieldy, +15. This weapon, either due to its size, bulk, or complexity, is harder to use. It requires a general action and a combat action to use. By all accounts, it was nothing more than a hulking mass of iron.
Yep.
Although, if I wanted to go the complexity route, let's see, what would be a good example? The BFG?
No.
Not the BFG, the Calamity Blade.
There you go. I was thinking more of the Outrage from Guilty Gear, because that's never been put back together.
Let's see, limited ammo. This weapon can only be used a certain number of times each combat. Use of the weapon in battle is limited to 12 attacks for 5 CP, 8 attacks for 10 CP, and 4 attacks for 15. Why am I thinking of Wings Buster Rifle that could only be used like 3 times?
It could only be used 3 times. It only had 3 charges.
Of course, if I wanted to pander to us, I could also say Cosmo's altar before it started getting fucky.
Cosmo's altar before it started getting fucky. I mean, if I wanted to patter to us further, I would say any and all of the shells that Gene Starwind had for his caster.
But especially those three.
Especially those three. I mean, limited ammo. Limited ammo is as a strategic option to upgrade your weapon. Like, I want to get 10 extra points for this really cool thing, so I'm just going to go with an 8-shot gun. With this extra thing, this 8-shot gun should probably be one of your more, how shall we say, your more special weapons. Something that's going to change the shape of the battlefield at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then we have finishing touches, which are the bringing it to... Oh yeah,
you skipped Core Drain.
Core Drain. This weapon draws power from its user, causing 1 core damage, ignoring core armor, every time it is fired. This is where you have numbers 5, 9, and 19.
That, or, Monk? Do you know where I see this power, actually?
What?
Dead Man Wonderland. Literally shooting your own blood at people.
Yeah, I could see it.
Well, because it's already casting from HP.
Mm-hmm.
Core damage is your HP, essentially. And sure, that means that with a cyborg or an android or a transhuman, that's using up precious atomic reactor power. But if that's a gun attached to a human, that means that there's something sticking in your arm, taking your blood and using it for ammo. Because it doesn't say that this is an upgrade you can't take. Because it's not doing core drain, it's just doing core damage.
I guess.
Ooh, no wait. Monk, I've got a better idea that panders to us and is a deep cut.
What?
Escaflowne?
Movie Escaflowne? Yes.
Yes. Movie Escaflowne, where the entire robot runs by drinking your blood! Also, we get one of the better Escaflowne songs from that movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Snowgoons and King Magnetic decided to have some fun with that. Which some fans really hated, and I don't know. Oh wait, I know why, because for whatever reason you can't be a weeb who also happens to be a fan of hip hop. Unless it's convenient, like with Samurai Champloo.
Or Afro Samurai, or any of the other ones that people say have black-coded characters.
Yeah, miss me with that coding bullshit.
I mean, let's be fair. Afro Samurai is not black-coded, he's just black.
Yeah. And in that particular case, part of that is the fact that Okizaki really likes blaxploitation cinema. But then, of course,
you just make me want to watch Black Dynamite again.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather you watch that than watch Dolomite, because then you'd have to play the Boom Mic drinking game. I do not endorse anyone playing the Boom Mic drinking game, because you will fucking die.
Well, only if they're watching Dolomite with the Boom Mic drinking game.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who don't get the joke, go watch Black Dynamite, please.
Yeah. Oh.
Pork Chop does have a good point about core damage being Spirit Gun, except not at all, because the Spirit Gun would never actually kill Yusuke, not unless he deliberately pushed his soul into the gun. It would just drain his current Reiryoku until he had to wait for more.
Mm-hmm. Which that was done once, but it didn't kill him. It came close though.
Came close to killing him, and then he became a half demon.
And that wasn't the spirit gun, that was the shotgun, which is just
I
a
know.
spirit gun on steroids.
It's a spirit gun that he scatters.
But after that is finishing touches, name, weight, eye color, creator, character points. I do like that there's a note regarding birth date of creation or age. Current year is 2115. Androids have been common since 2080. Transhumans weren't a thing before 2095.
So you can't really be an old android or an old transhuman.
There's also
Unless, of course. Go ahead.
There's also a note regarding weight. If you've got more than 5 levels of armor, increase weight by 50 pounds. If you use the behemoth fighting style, also increase weight by 50 pounds.
Fun.
That end, androids have an average weight of 250 to 300, whereas Cyborg has a weight between 200 to 250. But that settles the whole thing when it comes to character creation. Obviously, there's a lot that we skimmed because of fluff. But I did mention before, while you were off screen, there's kind of a 3-tier structure when it comes to damage. Shield, structure, core. Though there was a weird thing with shields, with the handheld shields, that you have to designate who you're shielding against, and it's one target per shield, which carries the implication that you could get multiple shields. I'd say to a certain extent, we are not far removed from the setup with Anima because of the sheer amount of stuff that you can spend CP on. I would say one of the questions that I would have is what the cap is when it comes to putting drawbacks on weapons. Is that part of the 30 CP cap, or is it something else? Because the only other possibility I could see is that there is no cap, but the CP you gain can only be spent on that weapon.
Yes, that's what it said.
I'm just I guess that evens out the fact that there doesn't appear to be a cap when it comes to drawbacks for weapons.
Yeah. Yep. I would like to point out that that as we pointed out when we did the introduction in the last episode, or in the episode 2 episodes ago, because we had the last month episode last month. No, we had. Never mind. I don't know. Brain's going all over the place. I'm thinking different things. I'm confusing Cloister with this. I would like to point out that when we talked about how they have these in between chapter stories, looking at them, they're actually the example characters are the characters in the story as well.
Yeah, which is a very White Wolf thing to do.
Yep. And then some at the very end of this last one, they said that the owner's name is in a language they don't know. It's Hebrew, and it's Emet Met. Those who don't get the joke, look up the oldest Jewish story about golems.
Which, given that it would explain what if said person is using a few robot friends, or if they have an exosuit, if I'm being honest. Although I can appreciate the reference in the thing saying chocolate is overrated. But I think when it comes to character creation, there are only a few things that we really had issue with. Uh, One of them I know was the range rules when it came to ranged weapons. Uh, I'd say one of the other ones was some of the oddness when it came to element relationships. That and this might get explained later on, but I'm not entirely sure how much impact a trump has. If it's a case of tiebreakers, that's one thing that'd be a little bit disappointing. If it's a case where one is doing more damage than the other, that'd be a different matter. Uh, that being said, I'm pretty sure next week we'll have a better understanding about why a lot of the upgrading you can do with CP caps at 66 points. Because that is a very particular number to go with. I think the only thing I might have suggested is something that the community with Anima has done for a while, and that is provide a recommended amount of budgeting for different aspects when it comes to that CP.
Yeah,
You kind of have that with classes in Anima, but some of the community took it a step further, which is why there's usually a understanding that you shouldn't put more than half of your points into one aspect.
mm-hmm.
I also think a step-by-step example character is something I'd recommend giving in this. I mean, the pre-gens that we have are nice, but putting a representation of where the points are going and how, I think would help a lot more. So, is the CP thing here as bad as it is in Shadowrun?
Yeah.
Technically, no. But it is still going to be a slightly higher floor. I will note that there are some additional designations that were in some of the expansion materials, but it's not like the game's using that. It's not like that's a get out of jail free card, and the main ones were in the fully customized expansion. Which were more about trying to replicate certain things, like the EXE expansion is very much channeling Mega Man Battle Network. In fact, I'd say if somebody wants to do Mega Man X in tabletop form, the Robotic Age would be an easy fit. I know we said that last time, but
Actually, yeah.
I'm all the more certain of it now.
Well, yeah, and what you could really do there is you could just make charge a free upgrade that everybody gets.
Mm-hmm. Well, the baseline of
and
charge.
Yes, that's why I said charge, not overcharge or omnicharge.
And in that regard, it'd be relatively easy to do, and it'd be an interesting challenge to do, say, X's different armors over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them would require a whole lot more points, and you're probably not getting them at the start. Looking at you, Ultimate Armor. Especially Ultimate Armor in X4.
Those would probably be exosuits once we get into those rules later.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that combat skills are its own specific thing, and the lack of specialized aspects when it comes to individual skills does help this avoid some of the problems that I've had with certain freeform games. I'm still not the biggest fan of things like knowledge and language being individual skills, but that is very much a me problem. And well, there's a reason. That's part of the reason why for FF Legend we don't do that, and I've made very clear why I don't do that. But I'd say regarding Robotic Age, so far so good. We've only had a couple little nitpicks here and there, and those nitpicks are stuff that we could easily house rule on the spot. But I'd say that is going to do it for this particular episode of the Valley of the Judged. We will be back here tomorrow around 3 p.m. Central for the continuation of the Hannibal War. And let me see. Let me check the schedule. So next week we're going to be handling rules and combat, and I have a feeling I know about the kind of die type that is going to be favored here, because it's looking like it's D10s all the way down.
Seems like it.
Mm-hmm. And of course, this Sunday will be the return of Geek Watch as we talk about a certain game design road to Damascus. And why some people quiver when they hear the words "it's free update time." But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Om